This is Jeffrey Wu, the host of the HVMN podcast, Health via Modern Nutrition. We've had a long hiatus, and I really wanted to have a re-entry into the podcast game be a super special one. And this is that special occasion. I'm joined by my co-founder and HVMN CEO, Michael Brandt, and my regular co-host, Dr. Lat Mansour, our research lead at HVMN. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good to see everyone again on the podcast.
It's good to be here.
100%. So what is this special occasion? Well, the special occasion is this awesome product. So what I have in my hand for folks who are listening on audio is Ketone 2.0. So many of you have been following me, Michael, HVMN team for quite some years. We played around in the nootropics, cognitive enhancing space. We were pioneers in intermittent fasting, biohacking in Silicon Valley. And I would say that we really broke onto the scene to be leaders in human performance when we launched the first drinkable ketone. This was HVMN Ketone, HVMN Ketone Ester. We supplied a vast majority of the Tour de France teams. We helped Vittoria Bussi, a world-class cyclist, break a cycling world record. We've got to work with some of the most popular celebrity athletes in the world. We've been able to work with some amazing soldiers and operators from the U.S. military community. It's been an amazing experience being at the forefront, working with some of the very best people in the world. But we went out of stock, and it's been a long, arduous journey. And this episode, the Ketone 2.0 episode, will unpack what happened behind the scenes and why we're so proud to take that time to be patient and to do all the things right to make ketones the paradigm-shifting nutritional primitive that we know it is. So this is an episode that you can't miss. I'll kick it off to the panel here. How does it feel to finally come back with ketones back on the market?
I can go first. I would say it feels great. It was always funny. I mean, Jeff, we would always joke that we're the co-founders of the company. We could barely afford the thing when it's $33 a serving. And myself, I'm a semi-pro marathoner running up to 70 plus miles a week. I run 6-minute miles for the marathon. Those that know me, I'm big into running, and I'm customer numero uno of ketones. And I didn't even get to drink it that much due to the price point it was at. So really excited to have something that, personally, I put that aside. It's not even my own personal use, but yeah, it's cool to be able to use personally, but also be able to tell my friends, my friends, my family, be able to have a product that they can have for $4 a day instead of $33 a day.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just to fill in the context here, when we introduced Ketone, our 1.0 version, it was an expensive product. It was $33 a dose, which might be affordable for folks who are professional athletes or folks who are focusing on winning championships, making millions of dollars, or it's literally a life or death situation when you're downrange fighting for our country. But for ordinary folks like me and you and a lot of folks, I can't afford this stuff on a daily basis, even though how I know how impactful it is on my metabolism, not just from a performance perspective, but also from my cognition and my metabolic health. So yeah, I think it's awesome to be able to come back and really upgrade the product in so many different ways. But I think really the most important way we've been able to upgrade Ketone 2.0 is make it really, really cost efficient. It's actually 66% more affordable and more efficient than our 1.0 version. We'll dive more into the details and specifics there. But Lat, I just want to get a high level pulse. How do you feel finally on the other edge of months, almost over a year of just making this massive innovation in biochemistry and supply chain and physiology?
I think it has been a very humbling experience, and it certainly is a very exciting outcome, because I've been speaking to world-renowned researchers who are all very eager and has always been asking us, when can we get a cheaper version? We've got limited grant money. How can we, test long-term exogenous ketones in research? how can we make sure that people take it because it tastes too bad before. So this is what we have been looking for, something that is affordable, something that doesn't taste so bad that people would rather have, some other supplements instead. So I'm absolutely excited to look at what data the researchers are going to generate in terms of tolerability, safety, efficacy, different use cases in different therapeutic areas. I already started quite a few conversations going on diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cognitive impairment, and just many more to come. It's going to be an exciting near future, and hopefully, much more longer than that.
Perfect. Yeah, let's go into specifics. I think it's good to get kind of the high level overview, but let's talk about the differences between 1.0 and 2.0 and the evolution, the narrative, the origin story of how this even came to be. So as just a refresh, I think it's just good to start from the beginning. What are ketones? Why they're interesting? Why are they quote unquote a super fuel or good for metabolic health? Well, this is not a sci-fi technology. Ketones are an ancestral, ancient super fuel for metabolism. It just so happens that when we are fasting or during very intense exercise, our body naturally produces these ketones. But within the hyper modern, hyper processized modern food environment, humans today just very rarely, if ever, generate their own ketones. So it's this interesting frame shift where we think ketones are very new, but in fact, we're just reinstantiating a very ancient metabolism. Modernity has basically canceled out the normal human body's ability to create its own ketones. And by making ketone 2.0, or essentially just making it easy for us to use ketones and back to our original state.
Yeah, I love the concept of ancient humanity. I'm right now. I'm standing barefoot on a rock mat. For those who know me, when I go to the gym, I wear my Vibrams toe shoes. I'm really big on Lindy. This concept of doing things that have been going on for 10,000 years, 40,000 years. Do the basics. Humans have been running for a long time. I love to run. Humans have been eating, nice piece of steak for a long time. We probably don't need to reinvent a lot of the things, and yet we live in this hyper modern world that presents us with all these other affordances. And to be clear, I don't want to live in the rainforest. I don't want to reject all of modernity, but I myself, and I think many other people that would consider themselves biohackers, do have a thought about, hey, do I need this new thing or do I want this old thing? I think what's really special about ketones is that it's both. It's this bridge into our ancient human self. Our ancient cousins had elevated levels of ketones, and now we're using the best of modern nutrition to help humankind return to that. One thing that reminds me of is I always think of this image. If anyone's ever been to the Singapore airport, it's super cool. It is a hyper modern, super cool bent glass, beautiful steel, super modern structure, international transit hub, super modern. But inside of it, the first thing you notice is there's plants everywhere. It's almost like you're in the rainforest. And what that represents to me is this modernity, this very modern structure that is returning people to, you're just around plants. The air feels really nice and healthy. And we're using that in that context, we're using the best of modernity to return humans to this ancient state. Like, we should be around plants. We should not just be in a concrete jungle. Airports should not be these lifeless things. So I love that use of the best of what modern technology has to offer to return humans to this ancient Lindy state.
100%. Yeah, I think that's just a personal aesthetic that I think all of us, I can probably say, appreciate. I mean, I think that's why we're not just biohacking. We're actually getting in the gym, deadlifting heavy weights. We're bench pressing, we're squatting, right? Like, I think Lat is our leg press champion of the team here. But I think it's like, I think this is something I criticize a lot, where you have a lot of biohackers who are so obsessed with the latest gadgets, widgets, but they're not eating properly, they're not sleeping, they're not exercising, and they don't look healthy. They don't actually function. So it's, how do we return to the best ancestral practices that are tried and true? We are animals after all. but also embrace the latest and best in technology. Clearly, we're engaging in remote podcast taping across 3 different major US cities. Half the time, Michael and I are talking about crypto metaverses, trading JPEGs, and doing all this crazy stuff. So we are by no means Luddites, but I think it's like this virtuous coming together, the best of technology with the best of what's tried and true. And I think ketones, HVMN, really represents the best of that within nutrition. Like that's what I want this company to be about. Whether it's not just, oh, let's jump on some latest fad. Let's not make some plant burger that may not actually be optimal for your metabolism because it's just like a bunch of hyper processed ingredients. Let's actually understand metabolism of ancient human, take the best in technology, and create a perfect super fuel. And that's Ketone 2.0.
That's a great concept there as well, and I think that is one of a few, like, you know me, I love science and technology, but one of few pitfalls of science, or the modern science, is that researchers and leading scientists around the world constantly are getting pressured to create novel stuff, novel molecule, novel mechanisms, and because the grants, they want something that's novel, patentable. So more often than not, things are more complicated than it should be. So when it comes to ketones, I think our approach is to be able to find the most basic molecule that manages to elevate your blood ketones to the most optimal level without giving in to that pressure of having to create a completely new novel
Or just
molecule.
overly complicated, right? Which means really expensive.
Yeah.
So before we dive into the molecule, the physiology, the research, the safety, as well as some of the exciting partnerships and applications down the line, let's actually show the world and prove it to ourselves. I
Let's
know we all
go.
have like the very first production line of our ketones in our hands. This ketone meter literally came out of this box I ordered from Amazon. So let's just actually see, how does this ketone 2.0 actually perform affecting our metabolism?
Yep.
We'll do a baseline
Let's do it.
ketone reading from our blood. We'll all take some ketone 2.0. And then towards the end of this podcast, let's put our money where our mouth's at. Let's see the pharmacokinetics. Let's see the PK. Let's see the blood ketone levels, all at a groundbreaking efficiency of cost and taste. So let's do this.
Alrighty.
And of course, we'll have our editor speed this part up.
That's my baseline, 0.4.
Mine is 0.2.
Haven't done this in a while.
Let's show together.
All right, I'm at 0.2.
Lat's at 0.4, and I'm actually quite elevated at 2.3. So what does this all mean for folks who haven't measured their ketone levels? Well, basically, when you're not doing anything special, you're usually around 0.1, 0.2. So usually when you're eating a standard Western diet, you're at Michael's level. So Michael probably had a nice lunch, nice breakfast, hasn't done any intense exercise. So he's running on glucose. And your ketones are at an expected range. Lat, you're at 0.4, so I assume that I know that you've been eating more on the low carb side, so more on a ketogenic diet, which means that your body is more predisposed to generate its own ketones. I would predict that maybe you had, skipped breakfast or something around the range of not having like a full carby meal. Is that correct?
That is correct. I did not have breakfast today. My first meal was at noon, 12:30. There was a little bit of carbs, so I wasn't strict keto, but definitely on the low carb side.
What is 2.3? 2.3 means that I've been doing OMAD and I haven't eaten today. So it's actually 6 p.m. my time in Miami, Florida. So, and I've been doing one meal a day because I've just been back to back busy. So I'm basically in a keto state and fasted So my ketone levels are pretty elevated. So it's an interesting like spread of just real life data points, right? Like, this is just me after being in a pretty intense fasting, low carb state, haven't eaten a meal all day today at 6 p.m. So I'm going to look forward to properly having a meal after this is done. So usually to get to 2 millimole ketones is pretty high amount of ketones. But my brain feels very, very good. I feel very, very sharp.
This is an amazing display of ketosis is a spectrum. Like, you can have elevated ketones at various levels, and you can still get the benefits out of it.
Let's stop talking and actually try the goods here, and then we'll have a conversation and we'll test again. This is HVMN's groundbreaking new paradigm shift in ketones. And the killer features here is that it's 66% more cost efficient. For your money, goes 3 times as far with ketone 2.0 as with 1.0, and it tastes better. I'm not going to say that this tastes great, but it tastes much better than 1.0. So the two biggest feedbacks, palatability and cost, we've solved those. So 2.0, this bottle goes for $40, and this is 10 serving of ketones. So essentially, one serving is $4 as compared to what would have equivalent be $15 to $33 of ketone 1.0. So 3 times more cost efficient, which is massive, right? I can afford $4 a day for ketones. It's much more challenging for me to afford $33 per day. So let's try it. And I think the cool thing with the ketone 2.0 form factor is that we know that each of us have different use cases and different body sizes and different our own goals. So I think as part of this demo here, let's all take different doses here, right? So you can take 10 milliliters of this or 10 grams of this, which will be like $4 worth of ketones. And maybe one of us takes 20 and one of us takes 30, which is like $4, $8, and $12 worth. And for like the $12 worth or the 30 grams worth, that's like athlete level, high end performance use case level of ketones. And then on the 10 gram side, the $4 equivalent dose, that's like, hey, you want a little of a ketone boost as you're doing a presentation or trying to be in flow state, or maybe just to put your brain in ketosis as you go to bed. Like that would be some of the use cases here.
Yeah, I think you have the highest ketones, so maybe you should take the lowest. I'll take the middle. I'll take 20, and then Michael has the lowest ketones, and he'll take the highest.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's do that. I'll do 10.
I'll do 20. So 35 mils is 10. Michael, you'll be having 35 times 3. I'll have 35 times 2.
Cheers. Cool. So 6:05 p.m. my time, we'll check in towards the end of this conversation to see where our PK is. This is 10 servings of ketones, which would go for $40, which is literally 10 times, depending on how you count the serving sizes. But if you remember our ketone 1.0, $33 was for a bottle this big. And now you get, for that kind of dollar value, you get so much more ketones. So that's a huge breakthrough.
I just took 30 grams of ketones from ketone 2.0, which costs $12. 3 servings of this would be $12. And so that's 30 grams versus ketone 1.0 had 25 grams and cost $33. So for $12, I got the same, actually better amount of ketones than what we had for going for 1.0. People might have questions like, hey, why did we change around the dose size? It used to be 25 grams, and we said, hey, that's 1 serving, and now we're saying it's 10 grams. And the reason there isn't to do anything sneaky. It's that people, we observed when we heard from our community, when we heard from you guys, it was that a lot of people were having fractions of the bottle, as Jeff was saying, for different use cases. If you're just at your desk or you want to feel zippy before a meeting, maybe you don't need the full Ironman athlete Navy SEAL dose. So we wanted to normalize this for everyday use for taking smaller doses, it seems a lot more natural to say, hey, for a normal everyday use, take 1 serving, and for a super dose, take 2 or 3 servings, versus saying, hey, a normal dose is 1, but if you're having a normal day, have a third of that. It was just a more convoluted experience.
What we realized, as again, we're talking to thousands, tens of thousands of customers, as well as like the very top end athletes and operators in the world, is that, look, we know that part of your fueling ritual is a number of other things. And we realize is that this is a perfect way to blend in ketones, like a ketone concentrate, to mix in with your pre-workout smoothie or post-workout recovery, right? Like, the world is not dosed to how much ketones you should be taking. Like, the world does not revolve around our little bottle size. Your world should revolve around your specific use case. So we heard that, we listened. We're here as engineers to create something for you. And what we heard was that make it more affordable, make it not taste as crazy, and then make it just very easy for us to size the appropriate amount of ketones for my specific use case. So exactly, like, this is so much more convenient for me when I want 10 grams of ketones before like a little of an energy bump, or maybe a little bit before I sleep, just to get my ketones to 0.5, 1.0. Or before I go on a run, I want to get to 2.0, 3.0. I take more like 20, 30 grams and really feel that ketone punch. It's so much more easy to do this with like a big bottle that's really affordable.
Yeah, and I'll chime in on the researcher side as well, because previously, if a researcher is going to send a month's worth of ketones to people, especially with the cost, it's very risky, because some participants, they do drop off clinical trials. So that is a risk on the researcher if they just run away with a whole month's worth of ketone 1.0. And then another good thing about 2.0 is that for longer period of research, say for 1 month, it's for storage purposes, it's so much easier. People can just pour out like the servings that they need per day, and you just need, say you need 10, so 3 bottles will last you a whole month, instead of 30 separate bottles of ketone 1.0.
Let's break it down for the biochemistry nerds out there. What powers ketone 2.0? Why is this so special? Well, there's a very special molecule of ketones that we really identified as the leading ketone molecule. And we dub it Ketone-IQ. But for folks that are super nerds, what is Ketone-IQ? Ketone-IQ is a chirally pure R13-butanediol. So the very important distinction is that this is chirally pure, which is very, very hard to traditionally manufacture. And through R&D and partnership, we found a great partner that was able to help us produce chirally pure R form of BDO in a very, very efficient way. And what is this molecule, and why is it such a game changer? Well, Ketone-IQ, chirally pure BDO, we'll call it Ketone-IQ moving forward because it sounds much more special, and I like that name much better. It's really the building block of every single ketone ester, ketone molecule that's out there in the market. In fact, Ketone-IQ was the base molecule for what was in ketone 1.0. It's actually the base molecule for what's in a lot of ketone drinks out there in the market today, but they all cost 2, 3, 4, 5x more expensive than what we have with ketone 2.0. And why is that? Well, no one has proven the safety and efficacy of Ketone-IQ. A lot of the previous work has been around making it what we now believe overcomplicated molecule for the sake of academic complexity, rather than actually delivering a use case for everyday folks. And one, and then two, as we did the hard work to prove out and show the safety of Ketone-IQ, that was a big game changer where we actually look at the pharmacokinetics. If you look at all the literature in the research corpus, all the research was on racemic BDO. So no one has actually studied chirally pure BDO or Ketone-IQ. So the fact that we identified this from a ketone base that already was the backbone of every single exogenous ketone already being studied, to realize that there was a modern, efficient way to manufacture Ketone-IQ, and then 3, did the hard work to actually prove safety and actually understand the pharmacokinetics. And this was done over the past almost 2 years, just really, really understanding from first principles how to make a ketone drink. We realized that this molecule, which was basically confused with a racemic mix, a racemic version of Ketone-IQ, was actually heads and shoulders above in terms of pharmacokinetics, in terms of stability of ketone levels, the duration of ketones, and the elevation of ketones at a really, really affordable price point. So how did we come to this? I think it was, 1, bottoms up first principles thinking. We went back to the drawing board as we realized that Ketone 1.0 can never be a mainstream product because it's always too expensive and too complex to manufacture, right? I would not feel personally good about myself if I was selling $30, $40 drinks to people. I feel like I would be extorting people. I feel like that's called highway robbery. I feel like it's very almost unethical to sell $40, $30 drinks to people when the potential here is not just, hey, a performance boost, but something that can improve metabolism. So I never felt good selling a $30, $40 drink. And that was an impetus that really kicked Lat, Michael, myself to spend the last 2 years, essentially, almost 2 years, just grueling, studying the literature, doing the research, being guinea pigs ourselves in the pharmacokinetics to really find a solution and create and invent and engineer a solution to make ketones effective and affordable for the first time for everyone. That's what this is. And that's why I think we're all super proud and talk about this in terms of, grandiose terms of paradigm shifting, right? I don't think we mean that lightly when it's something that we used to have to tell our friends, hey, just spend $30, $40 for one try, to now, hey, $4, one dose.
Yeah. And it's zero regrets on it. I think that's the way science goes. You got to have the expensive, clunky thing, right? You got to have how much was the first cell phone or first car phone? It's probably tens of thousands of dollars, and only some billionaire had it in their limo. And that had to happen, right? That had to happen to prove out the concept to be, hey, that's pretty cool if you can afford it. Now let's figure out a way to democratize it. So no regrets. I mean, we were first tracks in the snow to get it out there, and we learned a lot. We empowered a lot of researchers. We made a lot of people's lives better, and that's what I think gave us the chutzpah to put another couple of years into it. A lot of other types of problems that we could be all putting our smart brains onto, but the success of V1 is what made the goal worthy of making a V2. So no regrets on that,
Yeah, no, I mean, this is called human progress. And I think just the fact that there are so much people asking for us, when will we have ketones back on the market? What's the update? I mean, that's the daily fuel and motivation for us. That was, chips on the shoulder, because clearly there's some real value of being able to help people. Again, great to help top performance athletes, but great to help people that have metabolic health issues. And I don't want to make medical claims or prescriptions here, but people were seeing good effects from our ketone drink. And now to be able to say, hey, we can get it to you way more affordably, way more reliably, way more durable and efficacious zone where it keeps you much more stable. So I think this is an important point. Ketone 2.0 is much more stable than Ketone 1.0. Ketone 1.0 is very spiky. It will really jack your ketones up really, really quickly, but it will crash. Ketone 2.0 is much more stable over a much longer duration. So in terms of trade-off from 1.0 to 2.0, 2.0 is a strictly better product. It's really, I think, the as same as iPhone 13 Max to iPhone 1. It's that level of paradigm shift where it's 3x more cost effective, better duration, better taste. And yeah, super excited about this. Lat, can you talk us through like uh, how difficult and how much work you had to put in to prove safety, prove that this was something that was a step function above 1.0?
So I've been working very closely with our manufacturing partners to apply for a self-affirmed GRAS status, where we consulted, an independent, world-renowned scientist panel that essentially determine whether or not this molecule is safe in humans, and we have to put forth all the pharmacology and toxicology studies that are up to date, and making sure that this is safe for human consumption, and we have gotten that approval. And from then on, now we're just looking forward to more studies in different use cases and those responses.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think when we look at this from like a layman's perspective, it's like how does one even make a novel food stuff, or how does one even do novel molecules? Well, I think our path is pretty seamless because ketones are super well understood. It's a natural part of metabolism. And the fact that the ketone IQ has already been a part of other ketones that are out there already on the marketplace shows that ketone IQ is absolutely 100% safe. I mean, it was already a part of 1.0, and it's actually just much more efficient and less complex and less prone to stability issues, right? Because ketone 1.0 is literally, and a lot of other ketone products out on the market are literally more complex, more convoluted, less good versions of ketone IQ. And I think we just went back to the basics from first principles and did the work. I think no one did the work because I don't know. I think scientists oftentimes, when they're pursuing research papers and trying to win prizes, they try to make things over complex. And us as engineers, as innovators, as problem solvers, I'm a simple person. I just want a solution that solves my own problem, right? I want to get my ketones up in a efficient, affordable, not disgusting way. And the cheaper, the better, because I can use it more often. So we came from first principles. We took away all the complexity that the academics love to say and kind of confuse people. And we just applied like the folksy simple approach. And that, I think, was really the game changer here. We came at a very complex biochemical metabolic problem. And instead of making it more complicated with more convoluted molecular structures, we simplified it to the simplest possible form and then got the manufacturing to scale and delivered it in this beautiful packaging. That, I think, is the nut of it, right? It's you can be smart to make something more complicated, but you gotta be a combination of genius and a folksy person like us to say, hey, we'll take it down and strip it down to its most simple form. That, I think, is true genius.
I think anyone who's ever touched product or technology, whether it's food or software, hardware, can appreciate that it takes a lot to simplify things down, right? Like the early versions of a lot of technologies are complicated, and it takes a lot of time to make something simple. It's really easy to throw something up, throw up a website that asks users a bunch of different questions and has a bunch of doodads. It's really hard to make Tinder or Uber or the iPhone, right? It's really hard to make something that just works. And the best technologists, I think, understand this concept that more technology should feel like less technology. People don't actually want, like when you go to print something on your computer and there's all these things that pop up and drop downs and your printer never works, like no one enjoys that. No one actually enjoys stuff that feels like technology. People just want to live their life. And they want something that's invisible and just works. Like your phone doesn't feel like technology, right? Your phone feels like, oh, my wife texted me, right? I'm not like thinking about, oh, I am doing technology now. Let me boot it up and beep, boop, boop, boop. It's like, no, it just works. And the same with, I like to think that we are inheriting that same aesthetic here, that like I mean, it took us a couple of years. We started with a more complicated thing, and then the light bulb went off of, hey, let's addition by subtraction. Let's make it better by taking away from it.
I mean, technology is meant to assimilate into our daily lives and make our lives more convenient, not make it more convoluted or complicated. And same with science, the more science, the more research we do, the exogenous ketones as a means to elevate blood ketones needs to be simplified so that we can focus on the real question in solving therapeutic areas, in solving diseases, rather than just focusing on like this complicated molecule. We have a simple, cheap, doesn't taste bad molecule that can elevate ketones. Okay, boom. Let's get to the research. Let's get to the main meat of the research.
And I think that's like the super exciting part, right? Like I want to be the platform that unlocks phenomenal researchers, right? Like we're not going to be trying to figure out how to solve diseases. That's outside of our wheelhouse. And we're not here to try to win a Nobel Prize, but we would love to empower great academics, great researchers to use a finally cheap, affordable, efficient, efficacious ketone drink to make those discoveries. I know you're deep in that community, super well networked there, spending a lot of time at the forefront of ketone physiology. Can you give a sneak peek of what academics are excited about, what researchers are looking at, like what are some of the key promise areas?
One of the most common characteristic of, say, Alzheimer's, there's a reason why they call it the type 3 diabetes. It's because of the inefficiency of the brain utilizing glucose for energy. And fat cannot get through the blood-brain barrier to be metabolized by the brain to create ATP. Therefore, providing the brain with ketones, you are essentially solving that deficiency in energy generation to compensate with the insulin resistance in the brain in utilizing glucose. So that itself provide energy and maintain that functionality of the brain and therefore making it more stable. So that's the theory around it. And there's also much deeper understanding around signaling as well. So I don't want to go too much into the detail of the science, but the a more recent discovery or area of interest around keto metabolism in research is also the power of controlling blood glucose that ketones or exogenous ketones have in obese patients, even in healthy patients, and in diabetic patients. So that provides a very interesting concept where you are using a food product to combat glucose, to combat insulin resistance and hyperglycemia versus using drug like metformin. And it has shown to be as effective as metformin using ketone 1.0. So I'm really interested to see using ketone 2.0 where you can use it on a daily basis for a long term and it tastes much better. I want to see how does that improve one's quality of life if they have diabetes. And as you know, my passion has always been in diabetes, cardiovascular disease, since my PhD days. So I'm really interested to get this into the hands of diabetic patients as a nutritional primitive and see how their life improve over time as the research go on. Another area that has been researched in animals, so this is very, very new and hasn't really been proven in humans yet, that is cardiovascular disease. And it has been shown similar concept as cognitive impairment. When someone has a myocardial infarction or a heart attack, you have a deficiency in blood being delivered to the heart. Therefore, you have the lack of substrates, you have the lack of oxygen, you are going through starvation, if you would, in the cells of the heart. So it doesn't get substrate to get energy. And as we know, the heart needs to keep pumping, whether or not we are working or we are sleeping. The heart needs to keep going. But then if you have a heart attack, it's lacking that input to create energy as an output. So ketone has been shown to be more energetically efficient compared to glucose, and in a study. So in that sense, it has shown that ketones actually mitigated the cardiomyopathy in a heart attack model in animals. It has also shown mitigation of damage of remodeling of the heart post heart attack. So a lot of people, they know that post heart attack your heart will remodel itself and form some form of dysfunction, but putting in ketones, these animal models have actually shown improvement in terms of remodeling of the heart. So it's very interesting to actually see how that applies into human. So those are the three big areas that I'm really looking forward to.
And I think there's a lot to do, especially on the last point for translation into humans. But I think it's especially relevant. I think we might have all seen the recent headlines that aspirin used to be recommended for older folks for cardiovascular health, and they, FDA, CDC pulled that back. And there will be, quite some work before FDA or CDC could do anything in terms of ketones for cardiovascular health. But what I will say is that, hey, something that's sub $4 that could potentially be great for cardiovascular health, which is a top 3 killer of people in the world, right? More than COVID, more than a lot of stuff, right? Like heart attack, cardiovascular disease. Like that's a real silent killer that we don't really talk about because we're used to people dying of heart attack every single day. If we can make any impact on that, and if we can make any impact for researchers who are on the front lines, creating the science, creating the data, we want to be your partner to make that research real, right? Like we see our role very much as your preferred partner to create the data to make this possible. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. There are other use cases for us to explore. But I think just our ethos of being simple and solving problems means that we, in some sense, are the least conflicted ketone player on the market because we're here to just solve problems. We don't have our academic position or research corpus to have to double down on. I just want a product that I can affordably consume myself and affordably, with a straight face, sell to my friends and family, where I'm not extorting them for $40 a pop. Mike, I want to throw the mic to you in terms of exciting research, or not research, but more like athlete partners, distribution partners. Where can you kind of envision us being in the marketplace? I know there's a lot that are in the works, and we can't spread everything on this single podcast, but give us a sneak peek.
Yeah, I'll say that we turned a lot of heads with version 1, that people are interested. There's a lot of people in the cycling community, the marathon, ultra marathon community, that they want this, right? If this is your hobby or your profession even, and you're putting 10, 20 hours a week into training for this, if you can have something that's making a meaningful difference in your performance, meaningful difference in your training, meaningful difference in your recovery, meaningful difference in your longevity, the amount of time you're able to spend in the sport, like that's worth something to people. I've done a handful of half Ironmans myself, ultra marathons, and I can say, yeah, at the if you show up at the start line of your given Ironman, I mean, there's people with $5,000 bikes there, right? There's people who are like spared no expense. They have this super aerodynamic, wetsuit to swim the swim leg of their triathlon, right? People really want to optimize it. People want to optimize every aspect of it. It's part of the fun, right? And a new entrant, especially in the nutrition space, right? Like it's not often that a new nutritional primitive comes around, right? Like Gatorade was invented with the Florida Gators back in like the 70s, and people have been iterating on carbohydrates since then, right? Like your average goo pouch or Morton pouch is probably, it's more advanced than what was in the 70s, but it's the same idea. And what we have here is something that is breakthrough interesting. So we're going to be working with a couple of good partners here just at the start, which is we work with a group called The Feed. They sell to a lot of endurance athletes. They're just super plugged in, super high authenticity. The founder there used to own one of the major cycling teams. They're awesome. Check them out. We're going to be in a national retailer. Going to hold on the announcement of exactly who, but we have a national retailer that's super excited to get this going. I'm sure more to follow from there. And then we have a bunch of teams that purchased Ketone 1.0.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of friends, right? Like these friends are also celebrity athletes, but like, yeah, like uh, now just a close friend, Jake Paul. Yeah, he's a YouTuber, but he's also knocking out former UFC champions, and he's on Ketone 2.0, and friends like Conor McGregor, really top end athletes. These are all within our family, so hopefully we'll get them on the program, talking about their human performance, talking about their protocols, and many more names to announce as well. I know that we've partnered closely with Apollo Ono, the most decorated Winter Olympian. So all of these folks, to name and sneak peek some of the names, all within the family.
Yeah, and one thing I think about is like, hey, what if you invented caffeine for the first time? Like, what if caffeine didn't exist and you invented it? You might first start by applying it into like sprinters or runners in general, and because it's so obvious, it works. It's like, yeah, you give 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams of caffeine to someone biking up a mountain, they're going to do better. I think sports is just the beginning, though. It's one of the more controlled environments where you can show that things are working. And I think that's awesome. I mean, I'm a big athlete. I'll use it for my own athletic pursuits. But I think what's interesting is how that sets the stage for just everyday use too. Like more and more, I've been having ketones just at my desk.
100%, like that, like literally replacing my coffee, because I think we're all caffeine addicted. But how do you have higher cognitive performance on a daily basis, right? Like I see myself as a intellectual, creative worker. I'm not a physical laborer. I'm never gonna get paid doing a sport, but like I will try to make some money and make a living with my brain, creating products, working with the smartest people I can possibly work with. 100%. I think that is the future, right? Like, and I think that's a great point, which is that like with 2.0 explicitly, we want to take it out of just the hands of elite special operations, elite boxers, elite MMA, elite, billionaires. We're here to democratize access to ketones, and this is why it deserves the moniker 2.0. We're changing the game. We're taking it from the elites and giving it to everyone. And with that, maybe let's test our ketones. It's been about a half an hour. Let's see if this actually works.
Yo, my brain is switched on, man. I mean, well, Jeff knows me when it's not scripted, and he just puts me on the spot. I'll usually need 1 or 2 takes before I get it. Like this, I was like, it just flows out. I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. 1.4.
2.5.
1.6.
Awesome. So just to review, I started at 2.3. I took a $4 dose of ketones. I took 10 grams. I was at 2.3. And we're 30 minutes into this conversation. So in 30 minutes, I went from already relatively high ketones, but I feel really, really good. I feel really, really switched on. And my ketones will remain elevated, if not probably continue increasing over the next 4 or 5 hours. And this is off of a $4 dose of ketones. Lat, so you had what, about a 20 grams, about an $8 dose of ketones. Your body weight is probably what, a little bit heavier than me.
I'm about 185 pounds.
So yeah, I'm about 170. So you'll have relatively like per body weight dosage, you would require a little bit more than me to elevate ketones. So you went from
0.4 to 1.4.
1 point, yeah. So a 1.0 millimole bump in 30 minutes, and that will continue to rise and will stabilize for the next 4 or 5 hours.
We usually see peak around 2 to 3 hours.
Yep. And then Michael, you took the biggest dose here. You went from 0.2
to 1.6
in 30 minutes for a kind of a macro dose. And like that will continue to rise as you metabolize. So that's like the cool thing that like this is why I think the ketone is just an amazing product, right? Like I literally took this out of the box, stuck myself with blood. We just went live. We didn't script this. We didn't program this. This is just us talking to you, and it's reliable. This thing works. Like we're changing metabolism on the fly, and this is just like 30 minutes in, right? Like what other product, what other technology at such an affordable price can you just change your metabolism in 30 minutes?
Body weight, I think activity. So if you're exercising or you just exercised, your body is burning, substrates. Whether you're at rest, and then definitely your personal metabolic rate. That definitely, there are always no non-responders to ketones. There's always one or two in clinical trials that we have seen. I think those are the main big ones.
Another one is how fed you are or not, right? If you're well fed, then your energy needs are being met by what you just ate, versus if you're fasting, your body's going to greedily take those ketones right away. So it's not like it doesn't work, right? If you're fasting and you drink some ketones and it might go straight to your brain. It doesn't mean that it's like not working. It means it is working.
Because it's probably the case for me, which is like I literally have been eating OMAD and I haven't eaten today. It's like dinner time. I'm like pretty hungry, but ketones satiate appetite. So I think like I'm pretty efficient at uptaking. But I think one thing that I think is just also just important to understand from a oxidation rate perspective, meaning how much can you metabolize? Your body cannot metabolize after 2.0 to 2.5. No matter how many more ketones are in your blood, your body cannot metabolize any more than that. So to us, and this is what was a key part of introducing Ketone 2.0, is that after about 2.5, more ketones is not necessarily better.
Yeah. So there is a study, Dear Love et al., that showed between 2.0 to 4.0 millimolar blood BHB, the oxidation rate actually is quite small in terms of the increase of oxidation rate versus 0 to 2.0 millimolar. So that finding is really interesting and tells us more, it teaches us to narrow down that optimal ketone level for the best benefit through, for a longer period of time.
Yep. So in other words, essentially, you get most of the benefit of ketones going from 0 to 2, and very much decremental returns from 2 to 4. So if you can find a way to stay within 2 to 4 for longer periods of time, which Ketone 2.0 is optimized for, that's the best bang for your buck. So I think this is like a key point here as we just understand the oxidation rate to ketone levels. That's the sweet spot you want to be in. And in fact, Lat, you and I actually published a paper in Frontiers in Physiology that proposed a recovery threshold that made, I wouldn't say shockwaves, but just really helped inform the space and inform the state of the art, that you really want to be between 1.5 to 3.0 for the maximum recovery threshold. And hopefully that helps inform other practitioners, other researchers, what kind of band to target their ketone dosing towards. So, I mean, a fun conversation. I feel like we can dive into almost every single of these nuances for an hour each topic. But I think the whole premise here is just get us all together, talk about the launch of Ketone 2.0. You can find it exclusively on HVMN.com. We have over 33,000 people on a wait list. I know that if you are on the wait list, we're pulling people off and taking people off as quickly as we can. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your support and love over all this time. keep joining us on this journey, and we hope to further earn your patronage, your support for us to support your metabolism, performance, and health. With that, I'll leave it to final words here.
Yeah, no, really well said, Jeff. It's an honor to be providing a product that can service so many people. I always say we're all doing metabolism all the time. So whether you're a marathoner, or you want to be more sharp at your desk, or you want to lose weight and do the keto diet and intermittent fasting, or you're an older person that wants to address different issues that you're having that you're talking to with your doctor, everyone's doing metabolism all the time, and it's a major honor. It's something that we take very seriously, putting our life's work into helping to support that. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you to everyone as well. I know you guys have been very supportive and appreciative of the research roundup that Jeff and I have been doing, unpacking all the research around keto metabolism, around exogenous ketones. So hopefully, with the launch of Ketone 2.0, we will be looking at so much more research around exogenous ketone, around Ketone 2.0, and we look forward to unpacking all those science for you and really go into the details and nitty gritty of what makes Ketone 2.0 work, what doesn't make it work, and what are the benefits that comes with it.
Amazing. We'll leave it at that. Talk to you all very soon. Find us at HVMN on all the different social platforms. We're always on. We love talking to you guys. See you all very soon.